All right, so we're back and ready for another deep dive. You know how this works.
Always exciting to see what's new and maybe not so new in the world of entertainment.
Exactly. So we're going deep into Further and Better's TV, film and media industry international news roundup from January 2025.
Ooh, sounds juicy. Let's unpack it.
It really is. We've got TikTok bans, new films, some revivals, cancellations, industry deals, really the whole works.
Yeah, it's like a snapshot of where the industry is at right now.
Yeah, definitely. Some power struggles, creative risks, and that constant pull between nostalgia and like the need for something fresh.
For sure. All right, what's first?
Let's start with the news that really broke the internet. TikTok is banned in the US as of January 19th.
Wow, that's big. I mean, we all knew this ban was a possibility.
Right, yeah, all those concerns about TikTok's ties to the Chinese government and how they handle user data.
Right, and remember how they missed that deadline to find a U.S. buyer?
Yeah, that was a pretty clear signal. But here's the crazy part. Incoming President Donald Trump might give TikTok a 90-day reprieve.
Wait, seriously, that Donald Trump back in the White House.
You heard it right. What a twist.
So that pause, though, that raises all sorts of questions, right? Like, can TikTok actually find a U.S. buyer in just 3 months?
And what does this even mean for other social media platforms? It really makes you think.
This whole thing just underscores the global tensions around tech and data security.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to something a bit more glamorous, shall we?
Right.
Film festivals. Kevin Macdonald's documentary, 1-to-1, John and Yoko, is making waves at Sundance.
I heard it was huge at Venice, too.
Yeah, a lot of buzz about this one, and for good reason. It features rare footage of John Lennon and Yoko Ono's 1972 benefit concerts in New York.
Oh, wow. Weren't those like their last full concerts together?
And there are even recordings of their phone calls.
Wow. Talk about an intimate glimpse into their lives.
Right, and the film's themes of activism and resilience, they really hit home, especially after the recent disasters in Los Angeles.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a reminder of the power of art and community in the face of hardship.
From music legends to horror icons, Leigh Whannell, the mastermind behind The Invisible Man and Upgrade, is back with Wolfman.
Oh, I love his work. Who's starring in this one?
He's got Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner.
Nice. Whannell has a way of taking these classic horror tropes and flipping them on their head.
Yeah, for sure. And Wolfman is especially interesting because it's actually inspired by his personal experience losing a friend to ALS.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's not your typical werewolf story. This one's more about grief, family, and how we deal with change, all through the lens of this terrifying transformation.
Sounds intense. I'll definitely be checking that out. Okay, what else is on the docket?
Let's talk about Kneecap.
Yeah.
This Irish language film is generating a ton of awards buzz.
Kneecap. Tell me more.
It's a gritty biopic about a rebellious rap trio from Belfast. And get this, it's been nominated for 6 BAFTAs.
Whoa, 6 BAFTAs. That's incredible. Are they up for any other award?
It's also Ireland's official submission for the Oscars.
Wow, now that's impressive. And I heard Michael Fassbender is in it, right?
Yes, he plays an IRA member. The film's being praised for the way it tackles the complex political situation in Northern Ireland.
And it's breaking the mold of the typical music biopic. It's not just a rise to fame story, right?
Exactly. It's about these artists challenging the status quo, using their music as a platform for their message.
I love that. Okay, what's next?
Baby Girl. This one's directed by Helena Rain, who did Bodies, Bodies.
Oh, yeah, I loved that film. So what's Baby Girl about?
It's a thriller starring Nicole Kidman as a high-powered CEO who kind of explores her submissive side in an affair with a much younger intern.
Oh, wow. Sounds scandalous. What's Rain's take on it?
Well, she's an actor herself, right?
Right.
And she's bringing that perspective to the film, especially the sex scenes. She sees them as essential to understanding the power dynamics at play.
Interesting take. Okay, let's switch gears again. What's happening in the world of European cinema?
Well, NEMZG 2024, which is a big film and TV market in Europe, just wrapped up. 2 projects, Volcano and Reykjavik Fusion, are looking like they could be big hits.
Cool. And I'm curious about Cedric Klappish's Colors of Time, that historical epic.
Oh, yeah. Set in 19th century Paris in modern-day 2024. It's got a pretty big budget, too, like $15.6 million.
Wow, that's significant. And who's distributing it?
Studio Canal. They're aiming for a wide release.
Hmm?
It's got Suzanne Lendon and Cécile de France in the cast.
I'll have to keep an eye out for that one for sure. All right, back to Hollywood. What's the latest casting news?
We've got some superhero news for you. David Krumholtz and Milly Beecham have been cast as Supergirl's parents in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Awesome. I'm really curious about that movie. Who's playing Supergirl again?
It's Milly Alcock, and the cast also includes Matthias Schoenaerts, Jason Momoa, and Eve Ridley.
Wow, quite a lineup. Who's directing?
It's Craig Gillespie, and production just started in the UK.
All right, I'm putting that on my watch list. Okay, what?
Get ready for this one. Columbia Pictures is remaking Anaconda, but get this, it's an action comedy.
Anaconda, an action comedy. Are they serious?
Yep. And the cast is amazing. Paul Rudd, Jack Black, Sandy Huey Newton, Steve Zahn, Sultan Mello, and Iona Skye.
That's a wild mix. What's the plot?
So it's about a group of friends who decide to remake their favorite childhood movie in the rainforest.
Okay, I see where this is going.
And they encounter some real danger along the way.
Haha, classic. So it's like the unbearable weight of massive talent meets Anaconda.
Basically. Tom Gormican is directing, and it's set for a Christmas Day release.
Ooh, sounds like Columbia Pictures is hoping for a holiday blockbuster. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some industry news.
Right, well, Nexstar and Altus USA finally settled their carriage dispute.
Thank goodness. That blackout was affecting like 2 million Optimum TV subscribers, right?
Yep, 42 markets in total, including New York and Hartford.
It was all about programming fees, wasn't it? Caused a lot of disruption.
For sure, especially for sports fans.
Oh yeah, true. Speaking of big wins, though, Netflix just scored a major one. Greta Gerwig's The Chronicles of Narnia adaptation is getting an IMAX release.
No way. Seriously.
Yep.
It's the first time Netflix has partnered with IMAX for a theatrical release.
That's huge. So even they're realizing the power of the big screen, huh?
I guess so. Especially for a potential franchise like Narnia. It's a smart move, strategically speaking.
Right. Especially since the film hits their platform on Christmas Day.
It really makes you wonder if this is the start of a new trend for streaming giants, you know? Like, are they going to start prioritizing theatrical releases more?
It's definitely something to watch.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not all sunshine and rainbows in the streaming world, though. Peacock just canceled James Wan's horror thriller Teacup after only one season.
Oh, no. And I just saw that Paramount Plus axed the Frasier revival after just 2 seasons.
What happened? I thought those had potential.
Well, Teacup just didn't really make a dent in the ratings. It never even cracked Nielsen's top 10 streaming charts.
And Frasier.
I guess even with the nostalgia factor, it couldn't find its footing on Paramount Plus.
Oh, that's a bummer. But is this really the end for Frasier? Maybe not. CBS Studios is shopping it around to other platforms, so there's still hope.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So that was a wild ride through the entertainment news cycle, huh?
It really was. From political bans to huge deals and unexpected cancellations, it's amazing how much this industry can change in such a short time.
That's why we love it, right? It's
Cool.
always keeping us on our toes.
Definitely. But before we move on to the rest of the news, I got to ask about the TikTok ban. It just feels like such a pivotal moment for social media. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? It's about data security, national security, but it also brings up questions about free speech.
And the power these platforms have.
Exactly. And with Donald Trump back in office, it's impossible to predict what's going to happen.
True. It feels like we're entering a whole new era of uncertainty.
But maybe uncertainty can be a good thing, right? It might force us to rethink our relationship with social media and understand the trade-offs we're making for convenience and connection.
Yeah, like a wake-up call.
Absolutely. It'll be fascinating to see how other platforms react and how users adapt, you know?
Yeah, for sure. This could be a catalyst for some big changes.
In how social media companies operate and how we use these platforms.
Totally. This is going to be interesting to watch unfold. All right, well, we've got a lot more entertainment news to unpack, so...
Let's dive back in.
You know what's really fascinating to me? It's that push and pull we're seeing between streaming platforms and traditional movie theaters.
Yeah, it's a real tug of war.
On one hand, you have Netflix going all in with the Chronicles of Narnia on IMAX.
Right, like they're saying, hey, we can do big screen experiences too.
And then you have these streaming services taking chances on projects that traditional Hollywood might shy away from, like the Frasier revival.
True, even though Paramount Plus pulled the plug, it could still find a new home somewhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And all this nostalgia, too. The Anaconda remake, even though it's a comedy now, and the interest in things like Frasier and Narnia, it shows that people still crave those familiar stories and characters.
Yeah, there's something comforting about revisiting those worlds. But it's not just about rehashing the old, right? There are also so many exciting new voices and perspectives emerging.
Like Kneecap, for example.
Exactly. It's pushing boundaries with the language, the story, everything. It's a reminder that there are still fresh, innovative stories out there, often from places you might not expect.
And Leigh Whannell's Wolfman, taking a classic monster and giving it this personal, emotional depth.
It's all about a strong creative vision, right? Taking something familiar and making it new and compelling.
Totally. And we're seeing the lines between genres blur, too. We have an action comedy Anaconda, a gritty rap biopic, a literary superhero film, and a horror movie about loss.
It reflects how our tastes are evolving. We don't want easy categories anymore. We want complexity, depth, stories that challenge our expectations.
It's like we're demanding more from our entertainment.
And that's a good thing. It's pushing the industry forward. So what does all this mean for the future of movies and TV? That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, where do we go from here?
It's hard to say for sure, but it's clear that things are changing. The lines between theatrical releases and streaming are getting blurry. Audiences want both familiarity and innovation.
And creators are pushing boundaries left and right.
Yeah, it's exciting and a little bit overwhelming at the same time.
For sure. But one thing's certain. It's an incredible time to be an entertainment fan.
Absolutely. There's so much to discover and explore.
You know, it's wild to think that just a few years ago, streaming services were like the disruptors, shaking things up.
Yeah, totally. And now they're the ones making deals with IMAX and basically shaping the future of cinema.
It's crazy how quickly things change, right?
Yeah.
And with the writers and actors strike still going on, it feels like those power dynamics are shifting even more.
Yeah, definitely. Makes you wonder what the industry landscape is going to look like in a few years.
Speaking of those strikes, it's hard to ignore the impact they're having.
Yeah, so many productions delayed release dates up in the air. It's tough on everyone involved.
For sure. Yeah. It just underlines how crucial fair pay and working conditions are for creatives,
Absolutely. These strikes are a reminder that the whole entertainment industry relies on writers, actors, directors, everyone behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's a massive collaborative effort. Hopefully, these negotiations will lead to a system that's more equitable and sustainable for everyone.
Fingers crossed. Okay, I gotta admit, though, the idea of Paul Rudd and Jack Black fighting a giant snake in that comedic Anaconda remake is just pure genius.
I know, right? It's like they took all our childhood fears and turned them into a comedy.
Exactly. And it taps into that nostalgia we were talking about earlier, but it also shows how you can reimagine a classic story for a new generation.
And with a cast like that, it's going to be hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes all you need is a good laugh and a little escape from reality.
Couldn't agree more. Well, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into the world of entertainment news.
Okay, but before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about.
All right, hit us with it.
With streaming services taking on those big theatrical releases and reviving all these classic stories, what does this mean for the future of cinema? Like, are we going back to the big screen?
Or are we heading towards a world where streaming and theaters coexist?
Good question. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
That's the beauty of it, right? The entertainment industry is always evolving, always keeping us guessing.
It keeps things interesting.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into entertainment news. Until next time, keep those popcorn buckets full and those streaming queues loaded.